You're listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus of the Lotri Foundation. In this podcast, Shaykh Zahir explains the aphorisms from Ibn Ata'illah's famous book of wisdoms, Al-Hikam Al-Ata'iyah, a classical manual of spiritual development. Visit seekershub.org for online courses, our reliable answer service, and engaging media.
وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما بفضلك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Amen. So we reached in the Hikam, Shaykh ibn Ata'illah, we reached number 79 in it, and the last few of them, Shaykh ibn Ata'illah, were talking about the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones, in very simple language, are the ones who know what to do and everything falls into place. They're not the ones who are deluded into thinking that the working and the work in this world, or the deeds that they do in this world, or the actions that they do in this world, that it alone is going to suffice them in this world. It's rather the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they refer to as arifin, or the arif, the singular knower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the one who works for what is better, and he knows, or she knows, that the akhirah is better than this world, not because they've been told it, or because they can utter it, or because they think of it. It's because they know it internally, in their heart. They know it every second that their heart beats, every moment that they breathe. They know that their destination is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what they want. They want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not even, the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not even seeking they're not seeking and it may sound strange, but they're not even seeking the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jannah, or what is in Jannah, or the things that comprises of paradise. No, they're seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their pleasure is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. This is the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as he said before, Shaykh ibn Ata'illah, if you want to know what is expected of you, look at what Allah, if you want to know what to expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at what Allah expects from you. If you want to know what you are expecting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or what you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at what Allah's expectation of you is. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expecting from you? And so this is the terminology here that is used is someone who breaks that boundary, and the sitar, that veil or veils, are lifted between what? Between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That there's nothing that keeps them back or holds them back from seeing the reality of this world. Nothing holds them back. There's no veil that leaves what they're seeing as being opaque, or being what they see of this world does not at all get them to slow down on their path of going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't slow them down at all, because they understand the reality of the things that they look at through their eyes, and they understand the things that they look at because they have basira, because they have insight. And so they're not fooled by this world. They're not fooled by the moments of jubilation that they have after doing work, after doing a deed. They're not fooled by it. They're not fooled by, that because of this action, Allah granted me this. There are believers, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may open up a door of His fadl, of His bounty to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may open up a door. They may make dua, they may come and pray, they may fast, they may give in sadaqah, and a door opens up for them. A fadl, a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they have jubilation in it. And they believe that this is because of their action. This is because of their action. Without considering that it could be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He wants to cause them to have shukr. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may do it in order that they fall in prostration, or that they seek tawbah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted them this. And them considering having insight in my Lord is so great that even though I fall in sin, or even though my eyes may fall on sinful things, or my ears may listen to sinful things, or I may walk towards sinful things, or put myself into sinful environments, that my Lord is so great that He's still opening up the doors of fadl, and it leads one to tawbah, or it leads one to an opening. It leads one to an opening. The knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not fooled by what happens in this world. They're not fooled. Because what they're seeking is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. That's what they're seeking. They're seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We used the example weeks before. It's like someone who comes to pray. There are differences we can pray outwardly, we can all pray the same. Or follow one of the great mujtahid imams who decipher what is in the Quran and the Sunnah in terms of the prayer. We follow one of them, and so our prayer, we can perfect the outwardness of our prayer. Good, we can perfect it. Where to hold our hands, how to bend, how to go down in prostration. We can perfect what to say on our tongues, and so on and so forth. But everyone who stands for prayer, there could be a difference of what they're seeking. At some common level, we all seek the same thing: fulfillment of the fard. The fulfillment of the fard. And so there are those who come and their intention is fulfillment of the fard. There are those who come and therefore their intention could be not just fulfillment of the fard, of what is obligatory, but it could be that they want more from their prayer. And then there are those who they pray not just because they're fulfilling the fard, because they're in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so a person who has that intention while they pray, that they are in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are praying here simply because of love. Love. Their Lord has required them, and they do it out of love, not because of the request, because of love. They've left that level of just doing it because of the fulfillment of the obligation. Now they're doing for a higher purpose. They're doing it for more. They want that love, that rida. They want to feel that pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want to feel that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they love their Lord. That person, they're not going to look and say, in 6 more hours, or whatever it is, I need to pray the next prayer. I need to fulfill the next obligation. That person who does it out of love is going to wait. They're going to anticipate when they can pray again. They're going to anticipate it because of what is left. So there's differences. So internally, our prayer can differ. Externally, our prayers can be the same. Our prayers externally can all be the same. Internally, our prayers can be different. 2 people can pray beside one another, And someone can look externally and see nothing is different in their outward prayer. But their inward prayer could be completely different because of their heart. Simply because of what is in their heart. Differs from what is in their heart. And it could be manifested through their intention. Their differences could be manifested through their intention. Or manifested through what they do outside of the prayer. What do they do before they come? For example, before they come for Fajr, what are they doing? What are they doing at home? What are they doing on their prayer mat? What are they doing at home before they come to the prayer? What will they do after they pray? So their prayer differs depending on their state of the internalness, their heart, on the condition of their heart or the state of their heart, and their prayer can differ depending on what they do outside of it. So the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are seeking. Everyone seeks something. There's no one that doesn't seek anything. Unless they're just strange wanderers that just are lost in this world. Even those who are lost in this world are seeking this world. They're lost in this world because they've made their goal or their maqsid or their matlub, they've made it this world. And so everyone has a goal or an aim, whether they know it or not. Everyone has it. Everyone. And so in this hikmah, he's talking about the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ones who they're not just praying to fulfill the fard. They're praying simply because of the love that they have for their Lord. They have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so they anticipate the prayer. They anticipate goodness. They anticipate the opportunity to do good. They anticipate it. And they wish for it and they want it. They want it. They want that opportunity to do good. Not for people to see it. No. They wish for and they want the opportunity to do good, to prove to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they are in love with Him. Because they want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to know that they're in love with Him. And they know that, and they want that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they have it, then they want to keep it, and they want to preserve it. Those are the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, al-matlub al-arifin min Allah ta'ala as-sidqu fil ubudiyyah wal-qiyamu bihaqq al-rububiyyah aw bihuquq al-rububiyyah. So he says what the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Most High seek. What they seek is sincerity in slavehood. What the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is it that they seek? What they seek from Allah Most High is it's sincerity in ubudiyyah, in their slavehood. That's what they seek. And slavehood, ubudiyyah, is what? Is what you put forth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's what you challenge yourself with. It comes from you. Is what you put effort in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is ubudiyyah. Slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are a slave. You are a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What effort are you putting forth? What effort are you going to make? What effort are you going to put forth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you going to put forth for your Lord? What are you putting forth? And so, what is it that the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is it that they seek? What is it that they're seeking? What they're seeking is sincerity in what they're putting forth. It's sincerity. What are they seeking? They're seeking sincerity. They're seeking trueness. Trueness is what they're seeking. That nothing is mixed in. They're not coming here for people to see them. They're not coming here to this masjid this morning, waking up early to come to the mosque. They could stay home and pray. They're not coming here in order for people to see them or for people to be a witness upon them that they prayed this morning, this very morning. They're not. They're not coming here for that. Sincerity in ubudiyah is what you put forth solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in disregard of anything else, or the eyes of people, or in disregard of what is going to be a reward of one in this world, or even a reward of one in the next world. The knowers of Allah. We're talking about those who explicitly know, who have, and they do things out of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do things out of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They see beyond the temporal things. They see beyond it. They're not in delusion by thinking that things are the way that they appear to be because of the outward. They're not deluded into looking at the outward and think that things and make judgments on what is outward. They look at something and they see that it's beautiful on the outward. No, they look beyond it to see what the reality of those things are. Because it could be that the things that are on the outward are not in any way beautiful on the inward. And it could cause delusion to them, or delude them, or lead them astray. So the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they want sincerity in ubudiyah, in what they're put forth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in their slavehood, at the end, what are they essentially wanting? Essentially what they're wanting is the removal of all the makhluk, is the removal of all of the created things or created beings. The removal of all of it in terms of their slavehood, in terms of what they put forth to Allah. The removal of all of it. All of it. They don't want anything except what is not makhluk. Who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't want anything of what is created. Nothing. That's sincerity in their ubudiyah. This is in terms of the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ones who are on the path, who are working on the path to get somewhere. They're working on the path they're traveling on the path, they're traversing the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, drawing closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so they understand when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them in the Quran, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, when they hear this verse and they read this verse, they have trueness in this verse. إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, when my servant asks you concerning me, say to them, إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, that certainly I am close. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying to his servants, saying to the Prophet, it's directed to the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, but it's saying to the believers, when they hear this verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close, what do they believe? What is it that is in their heart? What is it that they're in their heart? That they're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their prayer, when they give sadaqah, when they fast, when they read Quran, when they do any works at all, when they speak well, when they smile, when they help someone. What is it that in their heart? Inni qareebun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. When the person knows in his heart, sees in his heart, that Allah feels in his heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. When they feel it and they know it and they have the realization of this verse, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close, when they have it, then nothing else, then their works are not done for anything else except because they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing them. Because they know it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will accept. their work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will accept their work. And they may not sense the downpour of rewards, of thawab. They may not sense it. They may not sense the downpour of thawab. What they will sense is presence of their heart with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is in itself sidq fi ubudiyah. That is where we all want to get to. We stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everything is removed. Everything is removed. Who stands beside you, behind you, in front of you is completely removed. At all is completely removed. The color or discoloration of the carpet is completely removed. The sounds or the fidgets of people completely removed. Completely removed. Is completely removed because one is in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close and the person feels it. How does one get to that point? How does one get to that point? How does one get to that point? Trueness in everything that you do. It's through the intention and the want. Through the intention and the wanting of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can have Him, but you have to make the effort. And the effort is in working and abstaining, working with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants one to do, and abstaining from what He does not want one to do. That then is how you get to that point. How do you get to that point? And tomorrow we'll talk about the fulfilling the rights of godhood, how it's connected. At the end of the day, the sincerity in one's slavehood is found in fulfilling the rights. It is the result of it is fulfilling the rights of godhood, because that rububiyyah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us, forgive us, have mercy upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in closeness and practice to Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of the believing men, believing women. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our parents, our elders, give them good health and long life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them. Those who have passed away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them His mercy and His maghfirah and His shade. Those who are sick, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal them and cure them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve our children on the deen and on the sirat al-mustaqim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them success in this world and success in the next world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve all of our brothers and our sisters, secure them in their homelands. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turn the plans of the oppressors against themselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feed them and clothe them. Help the ummah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve and protect our scholars, our ulama. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve them, protect them, help us to gain from them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our homes amongst the homes of the believers and make our last words our very best words. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Thank you for listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus. Help Seekers Hub spread the light of guidance to millions around the world by supporting us through monthly donations by going to seekershub.org/donate. Your donations are tax deductible in the US and Canada.